so that there will be data available so that people can...
Sense of, if you had to break down the causes of the lack of reproducibility, how much of them would be the incentive problem that Brian's been talking about versus a knowledge problem? Like, statistics is hard. A lot of social scientists aren't familiar with these specifics of how to adjust your p-values given the number of regressions you try to run, et cetera, et cetera. So incentive versus knowledge is one way you can break down causes. You could also break it down in terms of how much of the problem is within a study, did the researchers use good methods, versus in journals, how does the process by which they decide what to publish affect the conclusions that end up becoming consensus? So how would you break down the causes of the problem?
So just to jump in, not quite to answer your question yet, I think it is important to make the clear distinction, and I don't want to be pedantic about it, but between running new studies and reproducing in that sense, and then we could talk about the causes there, and this other sense of what Michael Clemens, who's an economist who wrote a paper on kinds of replication last year, I think he calls this duplication or reanalysis. So duplication being you get the data and code underlying someone's paper.
So this was a panel about the replicability problem, which is a thing that's going on in the world of science that essentially is a problem. The problem is that studies can't be reproduced. So when scientists get funded to do a novel new study, they put it together, they collect data to validate or invalidate their hypothesis, as you do with science, and they put together a paper and publish it with the results of their study. Now, often, the conclusions they come to, based on the data, are not the only conclusions you could come to, so that's one reason that some studies are hard to replicate. Two, sometimes the paper that they publish makes it very unclear how the experiment was done in the first time or how the data was gathered or collected, and so it's hard to replicate in that sense. In general, because online video is new, for example, and writing papers is old and has worked for hundreds of years, papers are presented, academia doesn't change very fast, so researchers tend to document what they do with, a very boring academic write-up of what they've done. And so only if you're very, very interested and super invested in replicating the study are you likely to be able to, discern what's going on there. Otherwise, unless you have a vested interest in understanding and then replicating the study, it's kind of hard to reconstruct what happened, just because the information itself is usually poorly designed in the way it's stored and archived and presented to other people. That is one of my biggest, complaints about the way science works right now, is that we have all these awesome tools and ways that we could document what scientists are doing in general, and we just don't. Practice hasn't changed, right? And there's no reason that... it took this is a separate problem, but it took the National Archives until just recently to stop requiring that every photograph that they archive be shot with film. That's kind of silly, because digital cameras have been quite good now for almost a decade. But I digress. It would be lovely if science and other academic pursuits and other large coordinated human pursuits would, benefit from technology a little bit sooner than they do. And don't even get me started on education. Everyone has tried that and it never works. But anyway, yeah, so this was an interesting panel to attend. It's also an interesting problem, and I wonder how it will be solved or if it will be solved. There were some interesting solutions proposed at this panel, like specifically funding just studies that are supposed to validate other studies. There are no really intense sources of funding right now for scientists who just want to dedicate their work to replicating studies that have already been done and verifying them and reproducing them. And so often studies don't get reproduced at all, and the ones that we try to reproduce, we fail to sometimes. So there are a variety of problems and ways to fix them. It was fun to see a discussion about that. Sorry, I sneezed, and you didn't have to watch it because of the magic of video editing. That's all I have for you this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.